Donald Trump is asking a judge in his hush money trial to overturn his conviction and dismiss the case. Lawyers for former president say the jury's guilty verdict on all 34 felony counts should be tossed out because of the Supreme Court's recent ruling on presidential immunity. CNN's Kara Scannell is joining us now. Tell us what the background is on this. What are the reasons that the lawyers are saying, hey, this has to be tossed out because of this ruling by the Supreme Court?
Well, Sarah, the lawyers are really focusing on the part of the ruling that says that at a trial you cannot use evidence of official acts in a case. And that's really where they're focusing their arguments here before this judge, asking him to throw out the conviction and the indictment and looking into some of the specific testimony of some of the witnesses that testified, including Hope Hicks and Madeleine Westerhout, two people who worked in the Oval Office with Donald Trump when he was president, saying any testimony they gave about conversations they had with the then president at the time related to the hush money payments should not have been allowed to go before the jury. They also want to exclude any of the testimony around the special counsel's investigation. Michael Cohen testified about that and how he was acting in a certain way to benefit Donald Trump at the time, also throwing out any testimony related to the Federal Election Commission investigations, and also any of the tweets that Donald Trump sent out saying that those were official communications and they should not have been used. And prosecutors relied on that to show that there was a pressure campaign against Michael Cohen, trying to get him not to cooperate in the investigation, which he ultimately pleaded guilty to criminal charges on federal courts. But they want to get that thrown out, and they say that the entire case is irreparably tainted, leaving dismissal as the only lawful option. Sarah?
Very interesting. We'll see what happens with that case as well, although a lot of the things that happened in that case happened before he was president, we should note. Kara, thank you so much.
Former President Donald Trump is asking the judge in his New York hush money trial to toss out his criminal conviction.
Yeah, Trump's legal team is basing this question on the Supreme Court's recent ruling that presidents have immunity for official acts, but not private conduct. Let's get some analysis now from CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Jennifer Rogers. Jennifer, Trump's lawyers are arguing that his guilty verdict in the hush money case should be vacated because the DA's office it relied on evidence at trial related to Trump's official acts as president. They're specifically asking for Hope Hicks's testimony to be taken out. Does their argument have merit?
Well, Boris, we're waiting to find out. I mean, one of the things that the Supreme Court often does when it establishes new law, as it did here, is it doesn't really explain all the various scenarios that are going to be impacted, right? It allows lower courts to figure out in the first instance how the new rule applies and whether it matters in terms of overturning a conviction. So in the first place, we're waiting for Judge Marchand to make a ruling about whether any official acts evidence actually was presented and received at trial, and then whether that requires striking testimony, overturning the conviction, ordering a new trial. So I think he'll do that in the first instance. And it seems to me that the Trump team has an uphill battle to argue that this was official conduct as opposed to private conduct, given what the subject matter was of the Hope Hicks testimony and the case in general.
And Jennifer, in the filing, Trump's lawyers claim that while President Trump used his Twitter account as one of the White House's main vehicles for conducting official business, how do you see a judge reacting to that argument?
Well, there's no question that the Twitter account was used in a variety of ways. Some of it was clearly official business, stating policy and so on, and the president's views on things, but a lot of it wasn't. He also used it as his personal account. And I think you can certainly parse through all of his tweets and kind of put them in one bucket or the other. So that's what the judge is going to do here. I mean, he's going to go through all of the tweets that were put into evidence and decide whether or not they arguably are official conduct or private conduct. And then that's going to determine whether or not they were properly admitted. So this is a painstaking process that's going to happen here, which is why it was so smart of Judge Marchand really to delay sentencing and go through this with a fine-tooth comb before it gets to the appellate court, so that he can be the first person in the first instance to decide whether it was official or not, which is as it should be since he was the presider of the trial.
You mentioned the delay in sentencing. It's now on September 18th, but do you imagine that it might get pushed further out as these arguments get sorted?
It could, but we're still in July, and obviously Team Trump's filing has come in. The DA will respond. So, we'll see. I don't know how quickly Judge Marchand will work, but I think it certainly can get done in time for September sentencing. I do think, though, that it's possible that the Trump team will ask for a delay, and we'll see then what Judge Marchand says about that. He might even try to get a stay from a higher court on that. But in any case, I don't think we'll see a sentencing and any sort of sentence being implemented. Even if we do proceed with sentencing in September, I think everyone expects that that sentence will be stayed pending the appeal of this matter.
Jennifer Rogers, appreciate the perspective. Thanks for being with us.